to Kemi to go on. Welcome, Kemi. You can go on now. Thank you. Okay, Kemi, I don't think we can hear you. I don't know if you're speaking already. So we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we heard you then. We heard you.
No?
Yes, we heard.
Okay, perfect. Is it better now? Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong this morning, and I truly apologize. Can you see me now?
Yes, we can see you. We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. I first want to apologize. It is definitely out of character. I honestly missed the time difference. I kept arguing that this session was supposed to start at 9 a.m. Meanwhile, it's meant to be 8 a.m. my time. So I still am in a jungle with time difference. I ordinarily work at work. I work with 5 different time zones. All my colleagues are in EST, MST, PST. So I truly apologize. I should have double checked rather than assuming I knew the time difference. So I really apologize. So I would go right into it so I don't take too much of our time. But just to answer the question, I was able to listen in on the last question, and the person was talking about what do you do when you cannot afford the talent that you want. I have been in those shoes a couple of times, especially if you work for an SME where funds or budget is a constraint, and at the same time you you want to offer value, right? It has to be somebody that can do the job. So two things I would suggest is one, if you could consider, can you hear me? My laptop is doing some strange things. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what's going on my laptop this morning. And by the way, on my video is somebody else, not me. So I don't know how that is working out. But I'm happy you can hear me. Anyway, two things you can do in that regard, I would suggest is one, you have to think more long term in terms of how do you grow your talents, especially if you have a cost constraint. How can you grow them? Grow them in terms of what kind of trainings, exposure do they need to be able to function at a certain level. So that is one. Two, you also want to think about what part of that job can you on the immediate contract, so that it doesn't impact the outcome of the business. And at the same time, the person you have in house is upskilling. So those are two ways in which you can, if you don't have the funds, you can still deliver value to the business. And you can engage the business in that conversation as well. And it's not just a matter of we can't afford it and that's it. That doesn't make you a strategic HR and doesn't make you a business partner. Because if you are indeed partnering with the business, you understand the constraint and you must be able to come up with a solution within the constraints of the business and still offer the same value. So that is what I would suggest. I've had to hire some engineers that we couldn't afford. So what I did was to downgrade what I was looking for. I was looking for a manager role, so I had to look for more mid 3, 5 years of experience. Then I contracted out with part of the business, and over time I begged for a year. Over time I was able to over time, I was ensuring the in-house person was being upskilled, and that was the way we were able to bridge that gap. So I hope that answers your question. I'll go ahead and share my screen right away. For the day, while I figure out the I need this, share my audio. Here, give me a minute. Oh my goodness, I hope, can you still hear me? My screen just went blank. Perfect. Okay, thank you. I needed that feedback so I can move on. I don't know what's wrong with my computer today. Can you exit? Okay, so today we'll be going through the topic talent wars. And I find that topic really interesting, and for two reasons. One, because I have walked on the other side of either table. What I mean by that is both as the talent at the same time as the HR person looking for the talent, right? So it's very interesting, and I'll share a couple of stories that I have in that regard. And also, I did some research as well on what the market looks like. And when I say the market, I don't just mean the Nigerian market. I'm looking at the global market, because to benchmark against Nigeria at this point is not true, right? Because that is not where best practices are. So best practice for us is to share based on global standards as we speak, right? So that is what we'll be considering today. Oh no, my system is acting up.
Is it possible to send?
Okay, so while I try to, you said?
It's possible to post it slide to maybe one of us so we can share it too.
Yeah, I wish I could. My system is just angry, honestly, so I can't even. Okay, I think it looks better now. That's something I don't like about tech. It just never tells you when it's going to go wrong. So just pardon me, please. Yeah, share. Okay, I would. This is insane. Okay, I will try to turn on another computer while I wait. But let's talk about globalization a bit, because that's where I started from. The reason why I talk about globalization is for two reasons. One, because globalization is impacting the way we do business, and that is the way we engage the business as HR professionals. So, for instance, my first questions to us this morning is, oh, sorry, it's morning here, this afternoon is, how many of us have been impacted directly by globalization? Globalization meaning you have people moving, or you have expatriates in your workforce. Is there anybody like that? So if you've been, I can't get a feedback. So my hands are a bit tied. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know why you can't hear me or I can't hear you, but I'm going back to sharing. Hopefully I can't even send the presentation, which would have made the life easier a bit. Window, yep, share. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, if you can see my screen, that is perfect. Okay, so I'll just speak to it real quick, but I think my my video is off for some reason, I don't know. So let me try to get that up so you can put a face to the person speaking. Oh, I hate technology. Okay. Okay, so perfect. My camera is showing, I think, Tosi, even though it is my name that is on it. So I'll just move on so I don't keep us for too long. If you can see my screen, then I will just move on real quick. So just a bit about myself. My name is Kemi Sidi. I work as an HR professional. Not to go through all the blog on the computer, I work as an HR business partner with Amazon. And prior to Amazon, I've worked with Maersk. I was with Maersk for 7 years, and I worked with Maersk in 3 different countries. So, in terms of my career, I've moved around quite a bit just because my employers have had those opportunities opened, and I've been able to take them for sure. I have a master's degree, University of Leicester, UK. My first degree is in LASU. So I am a son of the soil. I studied chemical engineering in Nigeria, but I knew for my 3rd year that I wanted to do HR. So right after school, I didn't bother looking for an engineering job, not even in my youth service. I started as an HR professional. I started working with workforce management, which is Bolaji Olagunju, for those that know him. That was where I started my career from, and the rest they say is history. I am passionate about developing and creating opportunities for talents within Africa for sure. I am that person that joins the workforce and start looking for people that have names that sound like mine. So usually I always look for people that are like myself in my workspace, and I always ensure that I look out for them in terms of opportunities, and if I can support them in terms of their career as well, I'm always happy to do so. So I know my camera is still not working, but I will just move on still, so that we can get going and not mind this computer concerns we have. Okay, so talent war. When I was told I was speaking to this particular topic, I tried to do a bit of research. And for me, I take Harvard Business Review as a truth. And that's because they have the resources as well as the pedigree in terms of their research and what they've been able to predict about the future of work, where we are, and so far they've not fallen too far from it. So the first thing I did was to go to Harvard Business Reviews and to see what they are saying about talent and how that is impacting. So the very first thing is, what is even talent war? The first thing that comes to mind when you think about war is two people fighting over something, right? Either two countries fighting over a territory or fighting over something they're trying to achieve. So in this case, pardon me, in this case, the war for talent refers to an increasingly competitive landscape for recruiting and retaining talented employees. So the first thing is recruiting. The second thing is retaining. So how are you recruiting and retaining your talents? So for instance, the lady that I answered a question regarding when you cannot afford the talent, that is what happens. If you cannot afford the talent and you go ahead to hire anyway, just because you need it, then you have to be able to retain such talents. And we'll talk a bit more about that subsequently. So today we'll be covering globalization and talents, HR on the wall front, you as a talent, HR of the future, and questions. Then we can all share our thoughts. So globalization. Uh, how many of us, for instance, have people or have experienced the impact of people moving to the first world countries, US, UK, Canada, Australia? Can I just hear from you if you've experienced that in your workplace? Have I been talking to myself?
No, Kemi. Hello. I think
Yeah.
Ikenna is talking about talents moving. I don't know if she's still on this call.
You said? My question was, in terms of, I was trying to make us see how globalization comes home in terms of how it is impacting you or your company as we speak. So I was trying to get an interaction from the audience on if they have been impacted in their workplace because some people moved or relocated or something, or they are trying to see how they are able to get in expatriates to their business. So I was trying to get that interaction from everyone. So I don't know if I was able to get through.
No, I'm guessing maybe people have not personally experienced that. On the side notes, we can't see your slides. I don't know if that is intentional.
It is not intentional. I thought I was sharing my screen all along. So that was why I was really asking for interaction so I'll know what you can see.
No, we can't see
Okay,
it.
let me try my camera again. I'm really trying not to power up my office computer because of security, but I don't have a choice as we speak. So I'm doing that on the side. Okay, so let me know if you can see. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
You can? Perfect. Okay, so let's go back. Unfortunately, I can't see the chat. If you can look at the chat for me, I know the chat is, I have some reactions in the chat. So I'm trying to make sure. Okay, can you see the slides now? Perfect, I can see. Can you see my slides now?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, I
Okay,
can see your slide.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for that. Okay, so my question, so is there anyone on this call that has experienced the impact of globalization, impact of people moving or impact of people relocating, and you had critical roles you need to fill, and you as an HR person are in a fix to how do you find this talent, and who has been in such a situation?
I've experienced this.
Okay, and how were you able to How were you able to figure that out?
We've not been able to like that's part of the before you joined the call. That was what I mentioned. So over a period of 24 months, we've had a high turnover of persons who um because of the peculiarity of Nigeria now, probably weren't considering relocating abroad. So one in or three in 10 exits that we have are persons who got jobs abroad and relocated abroad. But like you mentioned, the downside of that is getting talents to replace those people. Most likely, persons who you replace those people with will most likely 9 out of 10 relocate abroad as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so thanks so much for that. So, are you the only one on the call experiencing that? The reason why I'm asking is because of this. Let me share that data with you. Migration says HR business. Harvard Business Review says the number of migrants with a tertiary degree rose nearly 130% between 1990 and 2010, while low skilled migrants increased by 40% during that time. So that means the the bulk of our skilled workforce have moved between 1990 and 2010. We have about 130%. And when I read that review in detail, I was shocked, not because I am not one of them. I am one of the people that also moved, but it was the fact that it was that huge, and it was more from the developing countries to the developed countries. Isn't that interesting? Because one would have thought, just thinking face value, that for a system that is unable, that is not developed, you will need your expertise to be able to develop the space, right? So, but we understand the economics, right? The security, the everything, right? So that is the true picture. So 130%. So that means for every of our graduates that comes out of our educational system, there is a 130% chance that that person is not going to stay in Nigeria, or that person is not going to stay at least within Africa. So what does that tell me as an HR person in those spaces? How do I race against such a number? We'll come to that. Another trend is tech and Internet of Things. Technology advancement has entirely shaped the organizations by making their business processes highly integrated and more streamlined. You know what that means? That means if you have more integrated systems and is more streamlined, that means one, jobs are evolving. I personally don't believe people are going to lose their jobs to machines. I believe that jobs are going to be modified. So in a case where you've always used a human being for payroll or for what other for training administration, for instance, what is just going to mean when those are replaced by technology is rather than looking for somebody that can work your Excel document, what you'll be looking for is people that can automate and people that can integrate your system, your existing system with the system of the future. That is what we're looking for. So in terms of head count, workforce planning, it is a one-to-one, right? You lost a payroll person, but you gained an automated architecture design person to integrate your system. So in my opinion, in terms of jobs, we are not going to lose the jobs, but rather our jobs are going to be modified. So this globalization has also made even the best or the biggest of corporations to be able to access talent from anywhere in the world because the world is integrated. I'll use my younger brother for instance. My younger brother is a software engineer that works from in Lagos, Nigeria, and his office is in Silicon Valley, is in San Francisco. That's the tech hub, right? And he even manages a team right from Nigeria, and he's paid even in foreign currency. That is what globalization has done. So, as far as he's concerned, he's working from his own country, which is Nigeria, but his team It has his main team is in San Francisco, and I know it has some other teams in China as well as India. That is what globalization has done. Plus the pandemic. Pandemic also helped us to know what we can do working from home. The amount of work we can get done without being physically present at work. So as an HR professional, all that speaks to our talent wars. It is already bad enough that we have over 130% of our population moving because they don't see Nigeria as an enabling environment. And then we have globalization. That means that the world is competing with the limited talents that we have, even in Nigeria as a space. I just gave an example of my younger brother. So I can imagine a tech company in Nigeria trying to hire him. He already has to leverage the global market just right in his house, in his home. He's right there working from San Francisco. So which is interesting, right? That is the world we live in. And that is the reality, our reality as HR professionals. Agglomeration effect. This is my first time hearing this word. I heard this word 3 days ago, and I just thought to share because I've always heard, there's something about the work environment that you work in, right? You want to see people that they call them upwardly mobile. That's what we call them, right? We want to see people that are performance driven. You want to see people that really know what they are doing, right? And you want to be there as well. But rather, if you are in a work environment that seems as if everybody's listed there, nobody really cares, we don't really measure performance, it's just about showing up, then you're likely to lose your talent. And for the first time, I saw the word for it. It's called agglomeration effect. And what it means is where an individual worker's productivity is enhanced by being near or working with many skilled workers in many sectors or occupation. That's the first time I don't know if there's anybody on the call that has heard that word. But agglomeration effect means you cannot just bring one talent into your business if your business is not set up in such a way that this person also feels challenged or feels like they are in a space of other professionals and not just a space where they are the only one. They are the shining star. Usually you lose them because they don't get to have the agglomeration effect. So the reason, for those that are in tech, sorry, I'll keep giving tech as an example just because that is my current space. For those that are in tech, you notice that a lot of people, let me even give an example on this call, and I'm looking for reaction because I'm trying to make sure this call is as interactive as possible. So is there anyone on this call that wants to work for Google? You want to work for Google? I might just refer you. Thank you. Who else wants to work for Google? Moreni KG, yes. Who else wants to work for Google? Elizabeth, of course. Amazon, oh really? Nice. Tammy, okay. Who else? Do you know the reason why you want to work for these companies? Aside the fact that they are likely to pay, Ramia, I can see your hand as well. Aside the fact that an international NGO, yes, absolutely. Aside the fact that they are likely to pay top dollar, like they call it, they'll pay higher than that industry, for sure. But do you know another reason why you want to? You would want to because you would want to be in a space where you are sure there is best practice. You are sure it's a space where you will be challenged to be better. They are going to ask you for more. You are going to deliver more. The brand effect, absolutely. When those brands get on your resume, you know what happens, right? Honestly, I've had brands that normally will not talk to me, calling me, and I'm like, nope, I'm with Amazon, I'm not calling. There is the brand effect, and honestly, it exists. But will everyone work for an international brand? It is now a different conversation. But is it great to work for an international brand? Yes, Absolutely. Because of those two things. One, the brand effect, and two, the agglomeration effect. If you work for a top performing team, for those that are into performance, those that are performance management experts, if you work for a top performing team, to you are likely to get better. You are going to learn from each other, and you are going to ensure that you have a team that is benchmarking against their best practices every single time. So in talent wars, those are the things we have to consider when you want to hire a lone star. If you want to hire just one person to come and fix your company, you have to be mindful of what that experience is for that person. Because agglomeration effect says an individual worker's productivity is enhanced by working near many other skilled workers. The reason why an average person that works in an international, multinational company is regarded to know what they're doing is because they believe, or I believe, everyone believes that for you to have worked in such organizations, one, the bar was higher, two, you worked with other professionals, and that means that they must have rubbed off on you such that you know what you're doing. And that's the reason why the moment those names show up on your resume, sometimes they don't even interview you, or even if they do, it's just a chat. And that we would have to put into consideration as well. And that is how globalization is impacting how we see things, is impacting where our talent space is right now. I'll go back to the example of my brother. My brother works in Lagos, and for a company in San Francisco, and his team members are in China, India, I think France or something. How will a Nigerian company compete with that? If they can give him the money, how about the environment? How about the team that this person will be working on? So being strategic HR is for us not just to think about the person and having one talent on the team to come and fix the problem, or one person that brings this to the table. Is about the other people in that space. And that is how globalization is impacting all of us. And I mean all of us. So I saw this and I thought to share food for thought. Somebody asked, where is the information desk? And it says it has been relocated to China. And that is an information desk. I'm sure we all know by now that most of the call centers are not in Nigeria anymore. Who knows that? Who knows that? Most of the call centers are no longer in Nigeria. It is cheaper, they have better internet, and they are able to get value for their money. So most multinationals are relocating their call centers to either China or to India. That is the world that we live in. And if we have an organization that also needs a call center, how do we compete with that? How do we ensure that our talent doesn't go with those companies? Or how do you even position your company to benefit from that? Because I don't see globalization as a problem. Globalization is not necessarily a problem, but rather it is something that can be enhanced and into something that we all can tap from. So in 2010, London Youth Games opening ceremony, they realized, somebody did a statistic, and I think it was an Accenture or so. It says about 69% of the children in London in 2015 had at least one parent who was born abroad. 69%. And that was as of 2015. So now that we're in 2021, what do we think that percentage will be? I want you to guess in the chat. What do you think that percentage will be in 2021? That people performing at the Olympics, as at then it was 69% of them, they had a parent that was born abroad, at least. What do you think it is in 2021? Who wants to take a guess? Who wants to take a guess? I'm looking at the chat. Okay, let me help your memory. If you watch the last Olympics, how many, just from the top of your head, how many Nigerians play for other countries? How many? If you want to put that in a percentage. In Canada, it was about 40% of our population, and that's 40% of our Olympic population. Even though Canada, in my opinion, is still evolving in terms of immigration and globalization. So imagine UK. UK was about 72%. So that also buttresses the fact that they would. There's a noise. It's not from my end for sure. So I think it's Rachel. Rachel, can you please put yourself on mute? Thank you. I don't know if I can do that from here. Let me see if I can. Okay, so that is the number of people that were representing other countries from Nigeria. So that just buttresses the fact that we are losing our talents, and that is our reality. So what do we do? That'll be the question. So what do I do? I think more than ever before, as an HR professional, is making sure we are building our part, we are growing. You know, there's something about talent. They say you either buy it or you grow it. Who has heard that before? Your talent, you either buy it or you grow it. Okay, the noise is no longer, I can no longer hear the noise, so I guess the person has muted themselves. Sorry about that, Rachel. I thought you had one. Okay, so your talent, you either buy it or you grow it. So, but we already know that the rate at which we're going, we cannot afford the talent. Because when your business invests this sum of money into this person, and just as the other lady rightly said, there's a likely chance that this person is moving to the UK or US or Canada or Australia in the next couple of months. So what do I do? So more than ever before, as HR professionals, we need to place our organization in such a way that we are growing our talents. So like never before, succession planning is important, especially to your critical roles. What are you doing? So make sure that if A and B leaves, I have a C and D. And how do I ensure that even when A and B are still around, C and D are being prepared? They have exposure to the skill set, they have exposure to the project and to the level of decision making of A and B. So our job as HR professionals of this season in Nigeria, where our talents are highly mobile, is to make sure we are growing our talents. The question, if I were you, I'll be asking, what do I do now? Grow talent, I'll need time to do that. But what do I do now? And that is where I'm going to. So HR on the war front, I put it into 3 different buckets of the things we can do as HR fighting in this global world. The first thing, I put them into 3 different buckets. Strategy because it's a buzzword. We like to hear strategy. It makes us feel important. Usually, I have a team. Let me tell you a joke. I have a team. It's called partnerships. The partnerships team decided that they were going to change their job title to strategic partnership. And as their HR business partner, I was asking, so why do you want to change it to strategic business partnership? They said, because it's likely to make them feel important and people want to listen to them. I found that really profound because that was the first time it ever occurred to me that people assume the word strategy with something really serious and you are being perceived in a certain way. But in this case, it's not just because it's a buzzword, it is ensuring we are thinking strategically. Strategically means you are moving 3, 4 steps ahead of where you currently are. So when I say we need to grow our talents, it is a strategy because we know that this movement, this globalization will keep happening. So we can't just sit back and say there's nothing we can do about it. People will always go. Yes, people would always go. But what do we do? How do we deliver value as HR professionals in this war of talents? One is strategy. Understand your business and speak its language. One of the things I find really interesting when I talk to operations guys or when you talk to business or sales guys is when you speak HR lingo, usually to them you are just a periphery. You are just how do I say it? You're just an add-on, a nice to have. Yeah, that's the word. HR to them is just a nice to have. But when you work in organizations where HR is integral to the business, is integral to how we make decisions in the business, what happens? How do they get there? One, HR has to be able to speak the language of the business. And the number one language of the business is what? Who can take a guess? Sorry, I like an interactive audience. Who can take a guess? The number one language of business. Profits. Yes. Market share. That's the language of business. How do we delight our customers? Okay. That is number one. So the question is, how can HR help the business to make profits? So there is no time I draw up a yearly plan, what do they call it? The performance cycle, when you are drawing up the objectives, yeah, that you must be able to link your objective to profits. You must be able to say, this is how the HR processes, the HR cycle, the HR value proposition is impacting the business, the profitability of the business. So I, as a recruiter, for instance, I must be able to say that the efficiency of my system, of my of the way I hire, the kind of people I hire, and how that impacts the profitability of the business. As a training person, I must be able to measure the ROI on my training and how that impacts the profit. Until you speak the language of the business, HR is considered a nice to have. And that is why in some instances, HR doesn't come to the table. The table, like we say, is where the decisions are being made. Another thing we should do at this point where we are on the war front is know your enemy. Know your enemy. One of the most profound decisions I've made or I have spoken to as an HR person is giving my business the information about the enemy. Yeah, I call it enemy because we are competing for the space. We are competing for the market share. So it's not literal enemies, but we are competing over limited resources. So you must know your enemies. Yes, know your business, but you also must know your enemies. And that starts from as little as your exit interviews. Where are they going? Do you know that there is a strategy for some multinationals in Nigeria, especially if your business can afford it, that they are repatriating Nigerians that have studied, worked abroad, I'm bringing men to Nigeria as expatriates. Who has experienced that? I have a couple of friends. So those are opportunities. Those are strategies to be able to onboard, because I also know that businesses have quotas. I don't know if but when I was in Nigeria, um, we had a union agreement that take can only allow us to hire a certain percentage of expatriates. In that case, what we did was then to consider repatriation as an answer to that, and that is Nigerians abroad that wants to come home. And that's the reason why I'm saying globalization doesn't have to be a bad thing. Globalization can also be used as a tool. You will be surprised that if you open a community of Nigerians on LinkedIn that are looking to come home, if they get the right jobs or if they get the right environment, you will be surprised what you will find. Of course, there's a part of you have to be competitive. You have to be able to pay them. You have to be able to help them reload. Your global mobility strategy has to be tight. Some will still want to be paid in foreign currency, even though they are coming home. Things like that. You can always walk through the details, but globalization can actually give you such opportunities as well. So going back. So on the war front, you need to be able to understand your business. You need to know your enemy. Who are your enemy? Those in the same industries, those taking your talents. You must know them. Then you grow your talent to a science. I like that word. Whenever I use it with my team here, they're like, "Ken, what does that even mean?" I was like, there's a way you can set up a system such that you can predict the outcome every single time. So for instance, I stopped hiring. I have a couple of senior HR assistants and HR assistants reporting into me. I have 11 of them. We are like an army. I have like 11 of them because Amazon runs 24/7, 365. So the team I always have to have an HR, at least 2 HR people at a time in my center. I am supporting a fulfillment center. So what I realized is, one, I was not able to retain my experienced hires because in terms of promotion, they have to stay for a certain number of months, the space has to exist and all of that. So it was taking too much time. Experienced hires are not as patient as as graduates that know they have things to learn and all of that. So what did I do differently? So what I did differently is to only do campus hires. Campus hires are graduates, right? So I do campus hires, but what I do is I change my training time. So instead of training, usually I onboard an HRA, I call them HRA, I onboard an HRA in 3 weeks. But rather, I will take a campus hire and onboard my campus hire in 6 weeks. What has happened to me is my retention changed drastically because I was able to grow my talents. And guess what? In about 8 to 9 months, I had a campus hire got promoted. Because one, I had time to grow my talents. Two, I can predict the outcome. And that is what we need to do as HR on the war front and dealing with globalization and losing talents to developed countries. We have to be able to grow our talent to a science such that you can say, as an HR professional, if I take a fresh graduate with zero experience in my industry, this is how long it's going to take me to cook and bake this person. And this is how long this person is likely to stay with this company if they get this level of support and if I offer them this level of training and career opportunities. So that, in my opinion, is the focus area. Yes, our talents are leaving. That's our reality, unfortunately. But what do? And grow the talents, not just shop. If you shop for another talent, just a plug and play as an interim solution, just like you said, it likely that this person will also leave for the same reason. Better opportunities, security, whatever, personal reasons. They leave the shore of the country and we're back to zero. So instead of going back to zero every single time, you can actually move from going to zero to going back to two or going back to three. And before that person gets to that level where their priority is leaving the shores of the country, then they would have delivered enough value, and the pipeline already has a backfill as well. That is what I mean by grow your talent to a science. So the focus for HR of the future or HR of now is talent management. Talent management is not just a cliche word, it is what we need right now. And that is for Nigeria and even industries that are highly competitive. My industry, for instance, Amazon, we're competing against Facebook, Shopify, Google. All these tech giants are competing for the same talent as well. But what happens is we must be able to go back to make sure that our what's it? I'm trying to use the right word that everyone would get. Our school, our training school, is producing enough tech giants, enough tech potential to be able to meet up with that demand and to be able to meet up with the people we're losing to other tech. So the other thing is we cannot, as we all know, attrition is part of life, right? Of course, how much you attrit can become a problem. And if you don't attrit, it's a problem as well. At least I learned that from GE. I read it in an Harvard Business Review as well. You must always be able to get rid of your bottom 10% every single time. That's the only way you can have a highly performing team. Anyway, some people will argue with that, but let me not digress. So that is the way we can offer value as we speak. Those are the things we can bring to the table. So yes, we're losing talent. Why not draw up the 5-year plan for your business? Let me give you an example of that in Nigerian environment. I noticed at some point at Maersk, I was the diversity and inclusion specialist, CAE for West Africa. It was just a project. It wasn't my job. I was an HR business partner, but that was part of what I was doing. And I noticed that, do you know that in Apapa Ports, which was where our terminal was, at the time did not have zero female operator. We didn't have any female representation. And in these days of diversity and belonging, I'm sure we all know that representation is key, is critical to the success of a business. So what did I do? I drew up a case, and my case was a 3-year plan. I was not going to fix it by going to the road and just bringing in women. It would be a problem. 1, I would have safety issues. 2, how do I even train them? 3, I would have culture issues. You know, there's something about when you own grow, they come with the culture of the business. They understand the culture, and they don't have competing cultures in their minds, in the way they work. So it more or less helps you to set up your talent the way it would deliver for your business. So I did that. It was a 3-year plan, and what I did was to go to technical colleges. I'm sure, how many people still know there are technical colleges in Nigeria? Who knows there are technical colleges in Nigeria? When I started that project, some of my colleagues did not even know they existed, because typically they are graduates. We don't know what happens to them when they leave. Sincerely, until I started working with them, I've just always wondered what happens to them, because I've never seen a job ad that gives room for a technical college student in Nigeria. So what I did, so I went to technical colleges, I went to three of them, and I told them I wanted their year three students. I didn't ask for the final year. I wanted their year three. And the reason why I was looking for year three is I needed time. I wanted it to be a situation where when they are graduating, they already know they are coming to my company. That's one. Two, I already started to take them out of their schoolwork once a month to train them on the use of our equipment, on the use on who we are. So we more or less were onboarding them while they were in school. So by year three, we were ready. And guess what? That was when I left. It was so painful. But I kept getting pictures from my team to say, Kevin, these are your babies. They're ready to go. It was amazing. I felt like $1 billion. It was a 3-year plan. And now when I see pictures, I still follow Maersk on LinkedIn, follow APM Terminal, just to see how they're doing. And we were able to replicate same in different other locations. They asked my team for that blueprint on how we're able to achieve that. Also, there's also a part of preparing the business for it. And I'll give you an example. Just like I said, we had over 1,800 and something employees, all guys, all. So the only females we had were the support, which is HR, finance, training, safety. Yeah, that was it. Every other person was a guy. So we were building, at the time we were trying to change the structure of our dressing room. Then I started fighting that I needed female dressing rooms because usually operators wear overall at work. Then when they're going home, they'll change back. And they were like, we don't even have women to use it. I was like, but we have the plan to have women to use it. And of course, I had to fight the powers that be. Thankfully, I had management that supported the initiative. So eventually, I got a dressing room ready 2 years before they got on board. That is strategic HR. You are ready for the business of the future. And I'm giving my experience in Nigeria, so it doesn't look like, okay, it's because of where you are. No, it is because of what we can do with what we have as we speak. So that was how I was able to use this same philosophy in my company there in Nigeria. Another thing as an HR on the war front is your systems. Tech, we all know, is the new oil. Your systems, how are they set up? Are they set up in such a way where you still rely on individuals? Your systems have to be able to deliver the speed or the quality of work that you need per time. HRIS is no longer a thing because HRIS is the baseline. HRIS is a baseline. If you have an organization that doesn't have an HRIS as we speak, then I can tell you that's an organization that might cease to exist in the next 10 years. And the reason why I'm saying so is that means your system, because where the future of work is going, we all need technology. Even the smallest of businesses, if I need to sell this pen, the first thing I'll think of is what? Open an Instagram page. That's the future. So tech, we need to do a tech audit. Do we have the right tools for what we need? So if you're looking to grow your talents, that's a thing. But what technology do I need to be able to do that? If I need to hire or buy off the shelf a talent to meet my immediate need, what technology do they need to succeed? And you know what tech also helps you to do? Just like I said, it removes the reliance of individuals. So if you have software engineers, like in my case, where people are coding and all of that, and those are company property, how do I ensure that if this person says today, I'm no longer working here, that body of knowledge is still for my company? That's technology. If you're still using spreadsheets and Word and putting things on flash drives, you are still behind, and that is a risk. It is a risk to your business. It is a risk for retention, because the moment I get rid of my flash stick, or this person walks out with their personal laptop or their personal drives, that's it. You have to start over. So we need to evolve in terms of tech. We need to do a tech audit. Performance management, that is critical. How is What does good look like? In my opinion, that is what performance management is. What does good look like to your business? Profitability, of course. Then for your services, for your support functions, what is it? Efficiency that eventually translates to profitability. Every individual in your organization will benefit from you or from me as HR professionals, ensuring that we have the right objectives, having the right performance criteria. And your performance management is actually a retention strategy as well. And I'll tell you how. Every human being wants to achieve something. We all want to achieve something. So it's like selling a dream to your teams or to your organization to say, guys, this is what we're set to achieve. And how do we achieve it? How do we make sure that we have this? I know of individuals that will follow through on their projects. They say, you know what, when this project is done, then I can start thinking of what next to do, or if I'll look for other jobs. Because you give them something money cannot buy. It's a sense of purpose. And sense of purpose meaning you are giving people meaningfulness of work. There was an Harvard Business Review that was talking about meaningfulness of work, and that's the reason why some people go to work. Because at some point you start to ask questions. Aside the money, what does it mean? How does my role impact the business? How does it change lives? And that is part of the future of work. How does what I do change lives? That's the reason why people are working for businesses that are talking about sustainability, that are talking about environment, that are talking about, because they want a meaningful work that is bigger than where they are as they speak. Anyway, we'll talk about that much later. But that is the future. That is the workforce we are tapping into. People want to belong to something they can own. So performance management is critical. Focus on outcomes. And I'll say that, putting that together with the next thing, which is humanized policies. You need to focus on outcomes. I know a lot of companies in Nigeria still want people commuting, showing up at work, and even the days you don't have anything to do, just be by your computer pressing whatever so that you can get paid. But the future of work, as we define that, we're on the war front. So how do we make sure that, yes, we can humanize our policies, but at the same time, your outcomes are critical. So the very first thing is, how often do you sit down with your leadership to define what good looks like, to define your outcomes, to define your business strategy as a whole? If you don't have that, then you would struggle with the future of work, because the future of work will then be looking at, what have we always done? People showed up at work 8 a.m. every day. But how does that impact, one, with the new standards in quotes, or people want to be mobile, people want to do work at their own terms, and people want to focus on meaningfulness of work. So how do you even make the work meaningful if you don't know what the objectives are? So it is very critical that we just don't go right in and just writing policies and being the police at work and checking absenteeism. Those things are the HR of the past. The HR of the future is focusing on outcomes. What are the outcomes? That is critical. So you immunize your policies, time off options, absences. Those are no longer critical because you know what the outcomes are and you know what the expectation is, and you set up a system to flag when it's not working or when it's working, and you already have measures to mitigate that. So if your outcomes are still not delivering at the level you should, then that is the conversation we should be having, not the fact that you left early, 15 minutes early, then 14 minutes early. That is no longer the future of HR. AI is going to take all that. If you pull your time card sheet, it's already there. It doesn't, in fact, it's so integrated in some systems that if you walk out of the building before it's your closing period, it automatically goes to payroll. It's no longer your business. So HR has left that level. So how we'll be delivering value is focusing on outcomes, focusing on if we are tracking in the right direction when it comes to the business side, and how that impacts the employees. So if your employees are not delivering at this outcome, then let's talk about it. What is it? How can we mitigate? How can we ensure this person is performing at their? How can we even change their? I've had to modify time. Some people don't work 9 to 5. Some people's 9 to 5 is 9 in the evening to 5 in the morning, just because that's their most productive time. But guess what? The outcomes are there. And if the outcomes are there, I don't care. That is the future of work. In fact, I think it was is it World of Work now? I read a prediction that says at some point, I think it's in 2035 or something, everybody's going to be a contractor. Contractor meaning you can work for multiple employers because you'll be able to define your time and your terms. That is the future of work. And if you're able to do that, then you can work for multiple employers. That, they say, is the future of work. And that is the war we are fighting. So those talents that we are losing, so for a lot of them, that is what they are being offered. Myself, for instance, even as an HR professional, I manage over 600 people directly and all of that. I do that from my basement. I do that from home. And everything shows up, everything. But my outcomes are to the T. My outcomes are the priority. If you like, spend all day Netflix and chilling. It's okay. Are your outcomes trending in the right direction? That is the focus. And that is where we should be, and not the police at work. It doesn't deliver as much value because managers right now, I'm sure we know there's something called HR for non-HR, right? They're starting to train managers to take up some of those things. It's no longer relevant for HR as a profession. If we want to keep HR as a profession and not go extinct, although some people argue that HR is going to go extinct, but I don't believe so, because I believe HR keeps evolving on how it delivers to its business based on one thing that doesn't change, and that is talent management and ensuring that we have the right space. That's talking about space. That's another thing. Spaces matters. Where they work, how they work. Prima Ghani, for instance, when I was in Nigeria a couple of years ago, painted their offices in different colors. It was strange. Yes, they are close to a creative environment, but it changes, there's something about ambience, right? It changes everything. It changes the dynamic, the way people show up to work. I know there are some offices that you don't have a permanent desk. You work wherever. It is all the human psychology to know that there's something to look forward to every day. And in some instances, you can even sit down on the patio at work, as in like a veranda outside. You can actually just sit there and work from there. So we have to play around. All those things are the human psychology, which I don't think AI can learn. which I don't think AI can learn. And that is why I think HR is not going anywhere, because we are the ones that can offer that. Yeah, okay, yes, it's very true. For most hard to source roles, contracting is the go-to model. Perfect. That's it. That's the future. And we need to bring our businesses to that level to say, you know what, we don't necessarily have to see this person every single day. We don't have to make sure this person has medical and dental. No, pay him one off and tell him what to deliver on. These are the deliverables, and this is how often we want to hear from you. And the job gets done while you grow your talents. And part of the person's deliverables could also be to train the people that are at home. It depends on how you word your contracts. Anyway, don't let me go back there. Humanize your policies. I've been talking a lot about that. Policies doesn't just have to be black and white. We are moving away from black and white. Your hair must be cut. You must cut your beards. You must wear blue shirts. We are moving away from that. Even banks are going through that right now, because banks are opening without branches. Who knows that? Banks, we now have banks that don't exist physically. Banks don't exist physically anymore. And that is the future. That is where we're going to. An average woman on the road has access to internet. They will do WhatsApp with their friends and family and their village meeting. Internet is becoming part of who we are and what we do. And we need to come to terms with that. And we need to structure our businesses in that way to be ready for the future. So I know I've taken a lot of time, so let me just go through this real quick. So HR as a talent. If you see this picture, I love this picture. It is someone in a suit and at war. That is who we are, right? We are also a talent. We also want to know, how does this impact me? Right? How does this impact me as an individual? As a talent in HR, how do I position myself to be marketable, to attract? Just as we agreed, everyone would love to work for international, multinational, just because we want to, we need the brand effect and the remuneration effect as well. We want to work with other professionals at their best, and we also want to work with the brands that are already a success. So how do you, as an HR, be that talent? What do you need to do? And also considering globalization. One, know your business. And I will explain why. A lot of the times when I go through interviews, especially with the bigger guys, one of the things that comes back or that jumps at me when I'm interviewing is when I see that this person knows their business. As in, this person understands the relationship between what they do and their business. My question to you as an HR person today is, do you know your revenue streams as a business? Do you even know how your business makes money? Do you know the value of the contracts that your business is working on as we speak? How does that impact you? And what does that mean for the future? So as a talent, as an HR professional, one of the first things I ask when I'm onboarding is, what is our business? How do we make money? Because that is where the focus of the business is going to be. So if I'm designing whatever, policies, systems for the business, the focus will be on how it impacts that particular sport. It's like looking for the core of your business. You must know the core of your business. And most businesses have more than one revenue stream. They just don't buy and sell. A lot of times they have other revenue streams, and you must be able to appreciate that. So HR as a talent, you must know your business. You must be able to use data. That is the new norm. How do you use data? You must be able to build from nothing. I'm going back to Nigeria because I know that some companies either don't have an HRIS, or even if they do, they only use it for garbage in, garbage out, put in employee information and update it. When they leave, remove it. Things like that. But you must be able to use data. You must be able to see trends. You must be able to pull data and say, this is what I think is going to happen based on this and this data points. We must be able to use data. That is the future of work. So if you are interested in moving to any of these bigger guys, that is where they are. So, and you must be able to demonstrate that as a competence. Master the art of modifying behavior. And that is my sweet spot. And why I said so is that is the reason why I think robots, AI, cannot take the job of HR or talent, like they call it now. We are the ones that knows what levers to pull to be able to modify behavior. Culture, organizational culture is very critical to what we do, both now and in the future. We must be able to modify behavior of your employees. How do I get my employees to get used to working remotely by design? How do I modify their behaviors in such a way that we still don't lose that human interaction? All those things are HR space, and we must be able to master that art to be able to modify behaviors. And modifying behaviors has left the realm of disciplinary, using our disciplinary levers to modify behavior. We've left that space. To modify behavior, we are in the space of motivation. We are in the space of course, disciplinary is there. We cannot rule that out, but we are in the space of even understanding natural preferences. We are in the art of modifying behaviors. I don't want to go too deep into that, so I don't go over time. Risk management. One of the things I've heard from countless operations business people is HR usually gets in the way because we are the ones looking out for the business in terms of risks. So usually HR is the blocker. And HR is actually not meant to be the blocker. HR is actually meant to be the enabler. So I go into rooms, and that is what I learned, and I learned it from one of my mentors at work. Like, never go into the room to tell business this is what they cannot do. Rather, go to business to tell them the risk behind doing it in a certain way and profile a solution. So how to mitigate that risk. So for instance, you want to fire a manager, and you know this manager has been here and all of that, and you don't want to pay severance and all of that bucket, or you just want to pay severance and just let the person go, but this person handles critical data, and all of that, and management just wants to get rid of him. I've been in such a situation before. We need to be able to say, hey, yes, I agree with getting rid of this guy, but this is the risk. These are the things we stand to lose if we do it this way. However, this is the solution. And that is what the business wants to hear, not just saying we cannot because it's against the law, or we cannot, it's against our policy, or we cannot. Then HR is seen as a blocker and not an enabler. So we must always show up as someone solving the problem of the business, not someone there to tell them what cannot work. Nobody truly likes negative energy. And if HR is seen as bringing negative energy to the table every single time they show up, then after a while, they'll stop involving HR in the conversation. Then it becomes a problem. Another thing you can do as HR, as a talent, to be perceived as a talent, is also keep your hands on the pulse. Know your employees and know your enemies. One of the things I've learned to do so far is know your stakeholders for sure. Also know your change agents. If you need to modify anything, if you need to introduce a process change, who are the people you need to engage? And I'm not saying the big guys and the business, the team leads. I'm talking about the regular, everyday employee that can impact change. You must know your stakeholders. You must have your hands on the pulse. You must know what your employees are saying that they are not saying. Do you get it? You must know what your employees are saying that they are not saying. And I'm not saying you go gossiping, but what I'm saying is keep your hands on the pulse such that such information comes to you because you can be trusted. You know, we have to be in that space. So, for instance, when I was working at Merck, and I will always appreciate that experience because I had two unions. I was working with two unions, and at the time, I was managing the HR team. So, at some point, I would get calls at night saying that, Madam Kemi, Allah, we are going to down to Ozo. I'm like, what happened now? What can I do? Blah, 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 blah. And a lot of the times, even though it's not 100%, I'm the one calling the business to say, hey, this is going to happen. And employees are going to do this. And this is the plan. So business can also react accordingly. That is one of the ways we offer value to the business. And it is done first from the place of trust, keeping to your word and not promising what you cannot deliver. HR, everybody wants to warm up to HR just because they know HR has access to information. But we can be tempted to make promises we cannot keep. But when we do that, then trust is eroded. And when we cannot be trusted, then we cannot know truly what is going on within the space. And we cannot offer value that way. Raise the bar. As an HR professional, one of the things I always ask myself, how do I raise the bar? How do I do it differently? How do I do it better? We have to keep raising the bar. So as a talent, as an individual, you should be asking yourself, yes, I'm the HR manager. Yes, the CEO likes me and trusts me, but how do I raise the bar for myself? And you need to look outwards as well. How am I meeting the bar? Other HRMs in other industries, similar type, what are they doing? What is the benchmark? What is the best practices? You know, and sometimes you just have to come to meetings like this or register for, I say I read a lot about business review, not because I literally use them at work, but because it just helps me to get into the minds of people that are actually doing this research and they're the ones studying what is going on. How do you ensure you're raising the bar every single time? And you can use those information to support your business and also to be viewed as a talent and to be able to sell that to a potential employer. That is what I think we should do even at this time as talents. So I want us to watch this video and I will tell us why real quick. Just let me know if you can hear it. And if you can't, let me know as well. Can you hear it? Yes, perfect. Okay, thank you. Thanks for answering.
Unfortunately now, but this is a question we ask all our guests on the show. And I think it will follow on quite nicely from the conversation we've had so far. And it's, what will the future role of HR be in 2025? And I know you look beyond that, so you can always go beyond 2025. Yeah, well, thank you. HR itself. Yeah. What do you think? I wish I could be as precise as, this is how it'll look in 2025, and this is how it'll look in 2030. And I'm afraid that's well beyond me. That's for people like you that are much smarter. But I think the trends that we see, and again, I would thank my colleagues in the Create Group and Ian, and of course my co-ops and others. As we said, I think it's unavoidable now that the disciplines that are brought to bear in questions like this that go well beyond the traditional disciplines of HR. As important as those disciplines are, there is a need to open the boundary so that an HR profession has within it, already we're seeing data analysts, storytellers, etc. I think we're going to see more designers of technology, more professions that are good at disaggregation and reaggregation, such as architecture, engineering, where very often the problems they're already really good at have to do with disaggregation and then reinvention, if you think about that. So lots of engineers running around, architects running around. So what is the future of HR is this idea of an orchestra conductor, someone who's well connected to other disciplines and who can bring those disciplines in. One of the really fundamental things, I think, is a profession that is prepared to disaggregate the work and disaggregate the individual, and to develop a language at that disaggregated level that is not chaos, but that is something systematic that we can use to reinvent the work. That's it. I don't know that the profession, it's not a criticism, but I think there's a great deal of potential in realizing that not all, but much of the work will benefit from disaggregation and from the courage to be able to put the pieces together in a different way. We don't really have systems that plan that way. We don't really have systems that think that way. So that's going to be, I think, a significant one. And then I think this idea, these ideas we've talked about, engaging humans differently, combining automation with humans, they have organizational implications. So when automation takes over certain tasks, the power structure changes. My colleague Rob Cross and Rob is much better known than me, and rightly so, for his work on social networks. I love that work. Those social networks are generally conceived of as human networks, very often conceived as employee networks. And Rob and I have been thinking together about the notion of what happens when first you open up the network to the people that aren't employees. So how vital is this contractor to the social structure of the work? And then, what if we put artificial intelligence as a social node? So when you have artificial intelligence providing information, offering suggestions, etc., shouldn't that be a part of your social network? Yeah. Because when you drop it into a social network, doesn't it change the way everyone interacts? You can imagine that if AI starts to make surgical decisions, how does that change the power of the surgeon in terms of hospital values, hospital culture, based compared to the old times when the surgeon was really the center of knowledge, of power, of influence, etc. Do we need the AI inventor with the surgeon when the board of a hospital talks about decisions about patient health? So another significant element here for HR is to realize that once you start to reinvent the work, the echoes, the ripples, are going to mean vastly different organization structures, vastly different elements of organization design, such as power, accountability, etc. It's fascinating, and I love the social network stuff. And actually, I was at a conference a few weeks ago in Philadelphia where Rob Cross the connected campus. Yeah, really, really good stuff. Yeah, really good stuff. Wonderful. So I think you're right. I think these are becoming more and more important, and I think now the technology is there, and some of the passive analysis to really start to understand how this, how organisations really work. Yes, I would agree. Yeah, John, it's been great. Last question: how can people stay in touch with you? And we'll put all your various social media stuff on the.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if you heard that video and how it relates to what we've been talking about. It said so much about organizational design and how HR has to be in a position to respond to when your eco is changing, and when your ecosystems are changing. So when your ecosystem changes, for instance, we talk about contractor. If you start to have contractor relationships with some of the employees delivering value to your business, that means the power dynamic changes. So your focus is not just on managers anymore. So there is something about HR of the future has to be able to respond to that change in ecosystem. He described it as an orchestra. He said HR has to be like an orchestra that is bringing together different sides of things. He said HR is now into storytelling and data analytics. For the big companies, HR has to be able to tell the story, one, of the company as an employer brand. Two, you must also be able to tell the story of the business to its employees. And you must also be able to tell the story of employees as well to their fellow employees. So HR no longer just have payroll, learning, training, recruitment. It now has data analytics, now has storytelling. So in my opinion, if you ask me as an HR professional, what should be the next professional exam you should do? I would say coding, or I would say storytelling. How about you try graphic designing? That is the future of work. That is the way our role is being modified and is changing as we speak. So that is the future. So what is the crystal ball saying? Just as I said, I won't go over everything, but I can share these slides for sure, so you can go through it at your own time. So how do you respond? How do you redefine work? Reorg your work. That's reorganize your job to be able to deliver for its business. That is how we can be the HR of the future. AI, data, security, HR, IT security is also very, very, very important. IT security, how do we ensure that our business data is not getting out? So talent and culture, how do we modify culture? Agile HR, how do you respond to evolving changes? Diversity and belonging is a big thing. How do we ensure that our teams is a true reflection of our customers? Let me say that again. How do you ensure that your team is a true reflection of your customers? And I'll bring that home. At some point, Maersk was working in Kano. We were going to expand to Kano, and we did not have any of our sales guys that could speak Hausa, but that was even from the north. So what did we do? We had to respond to that in terms of diversity and belonging, because people really that is what Black Americans have been screaming about. There's something about representation. If you see your type in a space, if you see your type, if you see your own, it changes the dynamics of your business, and it changes the dynamics of your company as well. So that is where we can offer value as the future of HR. So I think that is, I will share the slides, but I think I'll just give us a moment to just talk about it. If you have any questions, I can take it. I don't know how much time that I have left. I know I've gone way over because I didn't start early, but I think we will get value if we are able to talk about it and interact based on where we are at the moment. So thank you very much for your time, everyone. I hope I've been able to challenge, share, and also able to help us think based on even our hopes and dreams, right? Even if that is your next big thing. I hope this presentation has been able to help you and will be able to help you to make the right decisions. Thank you very much. Tosin? Any questions? And please feel free to challenge as well. One of the things I learned working in a foreign country and in multinational is we were also not taught to challenge things when people say them. And that is not true. Nobody, not even Harvard Business Review, has it all. So please, if you need to challenge any line of thoughts, let's talk about it. That's the only way we can truly learn. Anyone? Or we are all tired? Okay.
Actually, hi, Kemi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Timmy.
Okay, I put my question in the chat box. I mean, great session overall, very informative and straight to the point. I'm curious about you talked about a campus drive that you did, building talents and exposing them to how your company works even before they're ready. And then, I mean, that's like building a pipeline for talent. How did you go about that? So I've actually been thinking of implementing something like that for my company. So what we have right now, we have some students that work with us, right? But that's not formal. That's not like a program, and I want to build a program from that where I can have a pipeline of ready. I mean, as we groom them, they are ready to transition into what we do. Is there a playbook? Is there something you can share, or how did you go about that? And you curious.
Okay, thanks for that question, Timmy. Unfortunately, I can't share the document, and I'll tell you why. You are HR, right? So that that knowledge was for my employer. However, it is in my head, right? In as much as we don't give out the document, it is in my head. So what we can do is maybe after the call we can connect. But let me just share the baseline. So what we did first is one, define the schools. Okay, I don't know what sector you work in. So define the schools that have the criteria or the degree that you're looking for. In my case, I needed digital media, perfect. So look for what schools are around you. And I'll tell you the reason why I said around you, because you also don't want to do travel costs, and you don't also want to do the long distance commutes, especially for those that will be involved in program. So what you do is define those in digital media. I would assume it to be students that are studying communication, or students that are into IT, some form of graphic designs and all of that production. So I would assume it's always PEFT. PEFT is likely to be there because digital media, if I'm still correct, I know they do some of those. So define those schools. Once you do, then design a program. So what you should do, what I did was I then put together a program to sell to the schools. And what I did was to sell it as giving them industrial exposure even before they need IT. Of course, IT, they automatically come to you. So it gives you different touch points. And that was why I said I went for level 3 students. So level 3, so throughout their level 3, once a month, I was meeting with them. They were coming to my workspace on a Saturday. I'll pay for feeding and give them something for transport. 20 hot girls. They were showing up every month. And when it was time for IT, they did IT in my company. So we knew them even more. So the moment they were done with school, there was no question as to where they work. And it also gives them that confidence, knowing that they already have a job, the company knows me, I know their HR, they pay me when I show up there. So we are building that trust and you are building that pipeline as you go. So even if you lose any of them, let's say you hope that your pipeline is going to have 10, make sure you build 20. So that even if you lose any of them to other areas of interest, travel, whatever, you still have your pipeline set. So that is what I would suggest. Then you have to, once you have that designed, then you go to the schools. You go through major stakeholders. You talk to the HODs of those departments. You say you are coming as a business and you want to raise this pipeline, and what it eventually translates to is jobs for those students when the moment they are done with school. There is no school that will turn you down. Of course, there's a part of the Nigerian factor. They tell you to bring money. I experienced that with some of those schools. Of course, I didn't give them money, but I took a lot of what's it called, branded items, t-shirts, caps, laptop bags, things like that. So they know whenever I'm showing up to come and either discuss someone or something that is not going fine, they know something is going to happen, even if it's not money. So, but if your company can, well, I don't know if your ethics or legal compliance issue around that. So I'll leave that to you. But what really happens is you then sell it to the schools. Then I did like an entrance examination, so to speak, because most of the students definitely will be excited, right? Who doesn't want to have a job before leaving school? Usually they will buy it. So then you have to set your criteria in terms of assessments. I wasn't talking to anybody that had below 4.0 CGPA. It was just for me to be able to cut it down and to be able to make sure that this program is not going to impact their schoolwork, their regular schoolwork. So I made sure the school gave me all the people that had 4.0 GPA, CGPA and up. Then we did the selection criteria. Then we placed them on that program. So that was that's like a rough idea of what I did. But but it takes a lot of stakeholder management for sure, because sometimes those vice chancellors and HODs might also want to bring their own people. The Nigerian stuff. So you have to be able to walk through all that gray areas as well, and at the same time engage your stakeholders. So that was kind of how I was able to do it. And then the last order is when they're done with school. Then the question is, what if I don't have space for them? Then the onus is on you as an HR professional. You knew they were going to finish school. So the moment they are hitting their last year, their last 6 months, you should already be singing and dancing around it. You should stop filling some of your entry level roles. You should already, so that the moment they are done, you also do not breach that trust that they have in the process and the system and being your pipeline. And also all your training and all that doesn't go to waste as well. I hope that answers your question. Sure. Thank you. Do you have any other questions? Challenge me, please. There's something about when you challenge each other, everybody gets better, honestly. Who else has any other thing, future of work, how you are preparing for it, so that every other person can learn? And even us, I think we should be selfish a bit. Let's not talk about the organization. How do I prepare to get hired into Google as their CTO, Chief Talent Officer? Let's be selfish. What are we doing to make sure that we are ready for such moves, those big moves? There are some moves that are very big, right? How are we ready? How do I get into Amazon? Okay. Is any other person interested, or is anything me? Okay, for Amazon, we don't have Amazon in Nigeria. We have Amazon in Africa, though. We have Amazon in South Africa, but we don't have in Nigeria for obvious reasons. To start with, Amazon in Nigeria, because Amazon is actually the main part of the business, not the AWS. AWS is Amazon Web Services. That they can offer, but it is not managed from Nigeria. But fulfillment centers, I don't want to use the word cannot work in Nigeria, but it will be very challenging because Amazon prides itself by customer obsession. And that's because when you order in Amazon today, you get it at your door today. And in San Francisco, for instance, we make some deliveries through drones. In Nigeria, you want to drone deliver in Mushin. We are not ready yet. And that is all the challenges Amazon is working through. And I honestly think Amazon will make a kill if they come to Nigeria. They will make a kill, but the logistics is difficult. And Nigeria is such a difficult place to work. So they are not in Nigeria. So to work in Amazon, first, I would suggest for HR is a bit difficult because they prefer HR to be in that location. They usually don't hire in a different location for a different location. So for instance, I am in Canada and I'm HR in Canada. And also because they need to be sure, HR, its peculiarity is you must also be able to know the labor laws of where you are, and you must be able to apply. And it's very sensitive here. I'm sure you know that. All the things our employees usually take in Nigeria, they don't take it here. They are going to call your bluff and sue you as an individual, not as HR. So the bar is a bit different. And that's the reason why HR, but for every other thing, for instance, our software engineers, all the web services guys, they can actually hire you from anywhere in the world. And in fact, I have people that we went to school together. They are currently in South Africa. And they work with AWS, so it is very possible, and you just need to look out for the job ads and apply for it. But that's for IT. But for HR, first is to be in that space. That is usually our ideal. And you know that HR is also not a niche like that, so they usually will not want to pay relocation and all of that just for HR. Even Canada's immigration might not accept it because they will say HR. We have HR in our country. Why do you want to bring in an HR person? So the first thing is to be in that space. So now I'm encouraging globalization, right? First is to be in that space. Once you're in that space, then we can, they're quite open, and they also have a referral system. So we can always talk about, like, if you need a referral, I can do one for you for sure. But I cannot make promises when it comes to relocation. They're not likely for HR, honestly, but they'll do that for the other niche market and all that. I'm not saying to Nelly, please. Anywhere else. South Africa has Amazon too, right? So it can be anywhere else. Amazon is in South Africa. Amazon is in Canada, Australia, UK, Netherlands. Then quite a number of countries where logistics is typically not a challenge. So do we have any other questions, or I should hand it back to you, Ife? Ife?
I'm here. Okay. Thank you so much for a brilliant session. It was amazing, amazing. I'm sure everyone too can testify to the fact that they learned a lot. So thank you. Can you hear me? Sorry, my okay. My hello? Okay, great. So just to thank you, Maureen Kiji. Just to bring this all to a close, can we all just say a big thank you to Kemi, even though we were up to a
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kemi.
sort of rocky start. It was amazing at the end. So let's just all echo thank you, Kemi, in the thank you in the chat box. Thank you. All right. So I hope we're able to learn a one or two. I learned that we should be ready to leverage technology in business. We should, as HR professionals, we should know our business, use data, master the art of modifying behavior, risk management, and raise the bar, continuously raise the bar. Also, performance management is a retention strategy. We should always keep that at the back of our minds. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for this, for staying through to the end. It was amazing all through. Next one, for the next session we're having next month, it will be communicated on the group chat, the time, the date, and the Sorry, I got kicked out of by network again, but we've come to the end. Thank you so much and have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Fair.
Thank you, Fair.
Thank you.